You'd be surprised what stories can hide in the change tray of your car or the back of a kitchen drawer. Today, we're diving into 3 1-cent coins, yes, pennies, that look completely ordinary at first glance. They're not gold, not silver, not even old by most standards. But they're rare in ways that matter deeply to collectors, and they could be sitting unnoticed in your collection, or your pocket change. These are coins that turned heads at auctions and made headlines in coin forums, thanks to quirky minting errors, low population varieties, and hidden characteristics that separate the valuable from the valueless. Let's start with a penny that's deceptively humble, the 1961 Lincoln Memorial Cent. Now, when people think about valuable coins, 1961 usually doesn't come to mind. That's partly because the U.S. Mint produced an enormous number of them, over 1.7 billion from the Philadelphia Mint and another 1.75 billion from Denver. That makes it one of the most heavily minted years in Lincoln cent history. But what often gets overlooked is that even in years with massive production numbers, the devil, and the value, is in the details. So here's the historical backdrop. The Lincoln cent had just undergone a significant design change in 1959, switching from the wheat ears reverse to the new Lincoln Memorial design, commemorating the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. It was still Victor David Brenner's profile of Lincoln on the front, but now the back featured the iconic Washington, D.C. landmark, designed by Frank Gasparo. At first glance, the 1961 penny looked identical to those from 1959 and 1960. Same design, same composition, 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc. But here's where it gets interesting. Even with billions of coins produced, small minting errors slipped through, errors that are now highly prized by collectors. One of the most well-known is the 1961 D double die obverse, or DDO. This is a classic error caused during the die creation process. The die, the metal stamp used to strike the coin, was impressed twice, but slightly off alignment. The result is visible doubling on the date, the word liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust." It's not the kind of error you'll see across the room, but with a magnifying glass or loupe, it becomes obvious. For experienced collectors, spotting that doubling is like hitting the jackpot. What makes this particular DDO from 1961 special is how dramatic some examples are. There are a few well-documented varieties with strong, clear doubling that can be seen even without perfect lighting or high magnification. Those are the coins that really light up auction rooms. Then we have RPM errors, repunched mint marks, especially on the 1961 D cent. In the early 1960s, mint marks weren't added directly during die creation like they are now. Instead, they were punched manually into the working dies, which opened the door to human error. On many 1961 D cents, the D mint mark was accidentally punched more than once, slightly shifted or rotated. Some of these repunchings are minor, but a few varieties show dramatic doubling or even triple punching, making them prime targets for die variety collectors. How does this all translate into value? A regular 1961 penny in circulated condition is still worth 1 cent, or maybe a few cents if it's in good shape and sold to a bulk copper buyer. But find one with a bold double die or a dramatic repunched mint mark, and things change. A circulated 1961 D RPM might bring $5 to $20 depending on clarity and grade. In uncirculated grades, especially MS65 or higher in red, those values can climb sharply. A bright red MS65 RPM can sell for over $100, while top-tier examples with strong doubling or exceptional eye appeal have cracked the $500 mark in auction settings. One of the highest auction records for a 1961 D RPM came in at $564 for an MS66 red example with strong eye appeal and a bold RPM. That's a wild premium for a coin most people wouldn't even glance at twice. But condition is absolutely critical. Copper coins oxidize over time, which is why collectors prize red coins, those that retain their original bright copper luster. A red coin in MS66 is leagues above a brown or even red-brown coin in terms of value. You could have two identical RPM errors, but if one's full red and the other's lost its luster, you could be looking at a difference of several $100s. And here's something a lot of people don't realize: many of the rare varieties are still being discovered. With over 3.4 billion pennies minted that year, the odds are high that new, undocumented RPMs or minor double dies are still out there. That's why 1961 mint sets are surprisingly popular with variety hunters. People buy them just to examine the coins under magnification, hoping to uncover an RPM that hasn't made it into the standard catalogs yet. It's part numismatic sleuthing, part treasure hunt. Also worth noting, if you're lucky enough to find one of these errors in a pristine coin roll or an untouched mint set, get it graded. A PCGS or NGC slab can legitimize the variety and open up the possibility of auction-level pricing. Just be prepared to spend some time doing close-up work. These aren't the kinds of coins you can ID in a hurry. All in all, the 1961 Lincoln cent is a perfect example of how something common can become extraordinary with the right combination of rarity, condition, and historical intrigue. Most people will never bother looking twice at a 1961 penny. But to the trained eye, it's one of the most exciting coins of its era, especially when it's sporting a dramatic die error and that perfect, original copper sheen. Next up, we're jumping ahead more than 5 decades to a penny that's surprisingly young but no less mysterious, the 2015 Lincoln cent, and why some modern coins are rewriting the rules of rarity. As the curtain lifts on our second treasure, the 2007 Lincoln cent steps into view, unassuming in copper plating yet hiding its own gallery of minting marvels. Struck in the same familiar design that has graced American pockets for generations, this penny owes its birth to a decade of metallurgical stability. By 2007, the U.S. Mint had long since shifted, back in 1982, from solid copper to a 97.5% zinc core clad in a thin copper shell. That change cut production costs but left open opportunities for unique planchet errors, missing or thin cladding that reveal the bright silvery zinc beneath. Both Philadelphia and Denver facilities turned out billions of these coins, over 6.4 billion in Philly and roughly 4.9 billion in Denver, yet only a handful exhibit the quirks that captivate seasoned collectors. Right from the first glance, design details hold clues to authenticity and rarity. The obverse features Lincoln's profile, a carryover from 1909, while the reverse displays the Lincoln Memorial, complete with tiny statue lines visible under magnification. Coin technicians adjusted die steel hardness and polishing techniques over the years, so minute differences in strike depth and die angle surface on a 2007 cent. Those subtle shifts can lead to doubled lettering errors, faint die cracks radiating from the rim, or weak strikes that leave Lincoln's cheek looking unusually smooth. Locating a truly bold double die, where letters overlap in crisp mirror images, requires careful inspection of the motto, "In God We Trust," above Lincoln's head. Only about 25 confirmed double die obverse exist across both mint marks, making authenticated examples a prize for any collection. Some of the rarest specimens arise when the copper plating skips altogether. Plans to save metal and reduce waste occasionally misfire. Blank zinc discs slip into the press without copper cladding, producing solid silver-colored cents that look like miniature tokens. Collectors prize these zinc pennies for their jarring contrast and extreme scarcity. Estimates suggest fewer than 50 entered circulation in 2007. One of the most dramatic auction results occurred in 2023, when a certified MS65 zinc-only 2007 P cent fetched $3,200 against a pre-sale estimate of $1,500. That sale underscored how an ordinary date can become extraordinary with just one anomaly in the minting chain. More commonplace but still valuable are off-center strikes and clipped planchets. A misfeed can shift a planchet enough that Lincoln's portrait drifts toward one edge, leaving a crescent of blank metal on the opposite side. Collectors grade these based on the percentage of the design visible. An off-center at 25% might trade for $75, while a dramatic 50% off-center error commands $250 or more when the strike remains sharply defined. Clipped planchets, shaped like cookie dough scraps, often sell in the $50 $150 range, depending on how clean and uniform the clip appears. Records set by top-graded circulation strikes chart how condition shapes value. In late 2024, Heritage Auctions sold a PCGS MS67RD, Brilliant Red, 2007 D for $45, signaling steady demand among red specimen enthusiasts. Examples with a touch of brown toning, MS67RB, settled around $30, while fully brown MS67BN issues hovered near $20. Stepping down a grade, MS65RD coins trade between $5 and $8, making high-grade red pieces accessible for those willing to hunt through monster boxes. At the pinnacle, a certified MS68RD 2007 P recently crossed $150, a testament to the shrinking supply of flawless coins. Beyond technical errors and grade extremes, a handful of stories add human texture to these cents. One hobbyist recalls discovering a perfect zinc-only sample stuck in a vending machine tray, its silvery gleam incongruous among ordinary change. Another collector shares how a routine box opening revealed a batch of 2007 D Memorial reverse errors, where the Lincoln Memorial's columns appear fused or missing under magnification. That find, later authenticated and sold in lots of 10, sparked heated bidding that pushed individual coins above $200 apiece. Auction archives also record one-of-a-kind anomalies. An 11% off-center 2007 P cent, graded by Anax as $50 with pristine surfaces, sold privately for $800 to a West Coast dealer who coveted the dramatic blank crescent. Meanwhile, an MS64 plated through error, where rust-brown zinc spots peek through thin copper layers, achieved $625 under the hammer in early 2025. These headline-grabbing sales remind collectors that even a common face value can conceal once-in-a-lifetime rarities. Condition-based values extend to circulation grades too. A heavily worn VF 2007 cent trades at face value or just a few cents above, but as luster returns in 58 Australian dollars examples, market values climb to $0.25, $0.35. Entering uncirculated territory, MS60 issues command roughly $1, while MS63 typically lists for $2 to $3. Those chasing perfect red set their sights on MS65RD or higher, with neatly struck fields and virtually non-existent contact marks. Prices here range from $8 up to $20. Above that, MS66RD specimens average $25, and MS67RD remains the grail, especially when certified by top services like PCGS or NGC. Tracking census data helps anticipate where values may head next. PCGS reports just under 50 surviving MS67RD 2007 P cents and only around 30 at the MS68 level. Denver's rarer MS67RD population stands at about 40, with no MS68 examples yet certified. Those narrow populations explain why sellers often attach premiums to coins with stellar eye appeal. Sharp rim detail, vivid red toning, and flawless surfaces can double standard census-based prices. Expert collectors monitor monthly population changes and recent auction sales to predict shifts, leveraging online databases as early warning systems for when a coin moves from accessible to scarce. For those focused on die varieties, the double die reverse on the 2007 P Mint carries special prestige. It flips the usual focus, moving from Lincoln's profile to the reflection lines on the steps and the inscription, United States of America. Contrast between letters like the A in America can reveal doubling under low-angle lighting, but perfect examples remain fewer than a dozen. A certified PR69 DCAM specimen sold as part of a proof set in 2024 for $600, highlighting that premium finishes attract distinct collector groups. Proper inspection remains crucial. A simple 10 times loop under a daylight lamp can expose minute die cracks snaking from the rim through Abraham Lincoln's shoulder, boosting interest among die crack specialists. Meanwhile, a Badger-style grading light can differentiate full red surfaces from red-brown tones, guiding decisions about purchase and resale. Experienced collectors emphasize edge handling to prevent oil transfer onto the delicate copper layer, which oxidizes faster than solid copper cents of earlier decades. Networking with specialist dealers and participating in error-focused forums often yields the best hunting grounds. Many collectors recommend buying error lots sold by weight or count, where modest face value investments can reveal off-center strikes and clipped planchets worth multiples of the purchase price. Auction houses sometimes list error rolls, grouping together dozens of suspect coins under a single lot, an efficient way to acquire rarities while minimizing per-piece risks. This exploration wraps up our journey through the 2007 pennies secret world. As you review your own collections or search through loose change, remember that diligent observation and an appreciation for minting minutiae often unearth the most rewarding discoveries. Whether you prize condition, seek dramatic errors, or chase scarce die varieties, this common-looking cent may just turn out to be the most exciting find in your next coin hunt. Way forward. The 2015 Lincoln cent might seem too new to be worth anything beyond its face value. After all, it's everywhere, in your change, your car cup holder, probably in your couch cushions. But this is where modern minting gets interesting, because even in an age of automation and strict quality control, errors still slip through. And when they do, especially on a recent coin, they can stir up a frenzy in the collecting world. So here's the background. In 2010, the U.S. Mint settled on the current design for the Lincoln penny, the familiar Lincoln portrait on the obverse and a Union shield on the reverse, symbolizing Lincoln's preservation of the United States during the Civil War. This replaced the short-lived 2009 bicentennial designs and became the new standard going forward. By 2015, this version was in full swing, and billions of these coins were rolling off the presses at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Now, 2015 had no shortage of errors and varieties, some of which caught collectors off guard. The most well-known is the 2015 Double Die Reverse, DDR, found on cents struck in Philadelphia. This variety shows clear doubling on the reverse side, particularly in the inscriptions, 1 cent and E pluribus unum. And let's be clear, we're not talking about the minor machine doubling that you can see on just about any coin if you hold it at the wrong angle. This is true double die doubling, the kind that results from a die being impressed twice with a slight offset, leading to real, physical separation in the letters. What makes the 2015 DDR so compelling is how dramatic it is, especially for such a recent coin. You can see the doubling with the naked eye, and that makes it exciting not just for seasoned collectors, but for people new to the hobby as well. It's a gateway variety, the kind of coin that might hook someone on error collecting because it's modern, easy to spot, and genuinely valuable. Speaking of value, here's where things get surprising. In average circulated condition, a 2015 DDR might sell for $20 to $50, depending on the clarity of the doubling. But in high mint state grades, think MS65 and up, the numbers jump significantly. A bright red MS67 example with strong doubling has fetched over $1,000 at auction. That's an astounding number for a coin you could theoretically pull out of a bankroll or find in a cashier drawer. And there's more. Another error to watch for is the 2015 missing designer initials variety. This one's a bit more subtle, but equally fascinating. Normally, on the reverse of the 2015 cent, you'll see the initials, LB, for Lindell Base, the reverse designer, tucked neatly under the right side of the shield. But due to a die polishing issue or overgrinding, some coins were struck with those initials entirely missing. Not faded, not weak, completely gone. That kind of die abrasion error isn't common, especially on modern coins, and it caught collectors' attention fast. This missing initials variety isn't as valuable as the DDR, but it's still worth far more than face value. A clean, high-grade example can bring in $50 to $150 depending on color and preservation. And again, condition is critical. A brown example in circulated shape might be worth $5 to $10, but if you've got a red MS-66, you're talking a completely different level of desirability. And here's something a lot of people don't expect. 2015 cents also produced a handful of off-center strikes and clipped planchets, both of which are error types that collectors love regardless of the date. These aren't die varieties, they're striking errors, but they're still worth tracking down. A 2015 cent that's 10% to 15% off-center with a full date and mint mark can bring $75 or more. If it's dramatically clipped or shows a retained cud, a chunk of die break that stays attached to the coin, you might be looking at several $100s for a really eye-catching example. Now, you might be wondering, why is a coin from 2015 commanding these kinds of prices? Part of it is scarcity. While billions were made, only a tiny percentage exhibit these errors. And among those, only a fraction survive in mint state condition. Plus, modern collectors are growing more comfortable with collecting new coins. There's a rising appreciation for recent mint mistakes, especially when they're dramatic and verifiable. Also, the fact that these coins are so accessible makes them appealing. You don't have to buy a $1,000 proof set to find a 2015 DDR. You can hunt for it in rolls from the bank or cherry pick it from coin shows. That grassroots hunt gives modern errors a kind of democratic appeal. You don't need deep pockets to get involved, just sharp eyes and a good loop. And while many 2015 DDRs have already been certified by PCGS and NGC, new examples continue to show up. That's the exciting part. Unlike older coins where most of the rare errors are already documented and locked away in collections, recent coins like the 2015 penny still offer active discovery. It's one of the last frontiers in numismatics where regular collectors can still make genuine, high-value finds. To put it plainly, if you're flipping through 2015 cents and you're not checking the reverse for doubling, you might be missing out on a four-figure payday. And if you see a coin where the designer's initials are mysteriously absent, don't toss it aside, get it under a scope and check that grade. Modern pennies are full of surprises, and 2015 is proof that you don't have to go back to the 1800s to find true rarity. Next, we'll wind back the clock a few decades and take a closer look at the 1978 Lincoln cent, one of the more understated but still potentially valuable coins of the post-silver era. It's a year with fewer dramatic stories, but if you know where to look, it still holds plenty of potential.